I welcome you. Katrina is also one of our nominees for a board position. So just a reminder to complete your ballot and send it in by Friday. Find out who the designated voter is in your organization. And so Katrina is not only joining us remotely, she is joining us from Canada. And so we welcome the participation of our Canadian gleaning partners, as well as the folks who joined us this year from Baja California, Mexico. So over to you, Katrina.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to virtually be here today. Quick check, can everybody hear me okay? Just some thumbs up.
We're
Okay,
good.
things are working and you can see my slide deck all right. Perfect. So today we're going to chat about resilience through efficiency, some lessons learned from building common fruit. And as we were saying, my name's Katrina. I'm a co-director of Common Fruits, and joining me as well is my friend and colleague Tony. Hi, Tony.
Hi, everyone.
Tony's also a co-director, but more importantly, a co-creator of Common Fruits, and just generally a tech wizard. As Kathy was saying, we are in Canada. We're located in Ottawa, where it is cold enough that just now for my afternoon walk, I threw on my winter coats. So I'm not jealous at all that we didn't get to come to California. Common fruit. What is it? It's a technology platform for gleaners. It supports a variety of program structures. Really anyone who's harnessing volunteer power to rescue fresh food from fields, backyards, markets. This is a really robust tool that can help out. It combines event management, volunteer management, and data tracking all into one platform. And check it out. Yes, it has a map. You can see where your farms or fields or yards are. You can see where you've got to donate things at the end. You can see where your bins of equipment are located. And yes, it works on a desktop. It works on mobile. And you can upload photos to it during an event or when you're scouting a location. And after the fact, you can search and find that best photo to tell the story. There's a lot more you can do with it, and we'll get into it a little bit more later. It's also what tech folks call white label, which means that folks that are using it, it's going to look and feel just like it's their own platform. So it'll be their logo in the top left, and all of the words that you see on the platform are all flexible. So if it says, available trees at the top, that could really say available locations or fields or whatever you want to call it. So you've got to sort of imagine the ways that you might adjust it for your own situation. We really love it. We think it's potentially a great tool for gleaners, but we are not the only ones who love it. There's some of our favorite folks over at Not Far From the Tree. Last year, it was their first year using the platform. And we were happy to hear that they reported it made their gleaning process so much smoother from start to finish. And their volunteer pick leaders really enjoyed it. They felt better equipped, and staff freed up a bunch of time so that staff could really prioritize other tasks that were going to build their capacity. Shout out to Nat. I think you're here. And there's Nat at the bottom saying what Ali said. And if you're really curious about it, just to give you a heads up, there is a demonstration site that you can check out through our website, commonfruit.org. Click around and explore with some example data at your own pace at home. And Tony, do you want to tell us a little bit more about how many folks we have on the platform?
Yeah, so far we've had about 8 groups on the platform so far, and there are more on the way. But over the last 2 years, I think we've spoken in depth with about 20 different gleaning organizations across the world, so maybe in 5 different countries. And we were trying to learn about their operational process to see how everybody differs, but really do my favorite thing as an engineer is to listen to their problems. I want to learn what their headaches are and um, use that information to evolve the platform and build tools that will really help them moving forward.
So to back up a moment, as Lisa of the Senior Gleaners mentioned yesterday, I believe, we were gleaners first. This didn't start as a tech company. It really started as a survival strategy for an urban gleaning group. Um, Back in 2012, I had a chance to start a gleaning operation with a friend, and we called it Hidden Harvest Ottawa. And Tony and I met while volunteering on the advisory committee there. Um, we dealt with a number of challenges, in part because there was a lot of interest and a lot of need. Food bank use was on the rise, as it still is. We had volunteers and tree owners that kept coming in, and we couldn't run enough events. Sometimes we had people frustrated that they couldn't volunteer with us. Um, there were other challenges too. We had part-time seasonal staff that kept turning over. We had small annual grants that just kept us on that granting hamster wheel, trying to find more money. And we had some frustrating founders trying to take a step back from this work. I was one of those founders trying to find some work-life balance, but I had good reasons. Here's a photo of my firstborn Rowan, also expert gleaner. Um, so during these years, Tony and I spent most of our time trying to figure out how to make this work sustainable. But of course, one thing we had going for us was some tech expertise on our committee. We soon launched our own platform to organize events, track data, and it was saving us more and more time every year. We found it attracted volunteers, it kept our lead volunteers around longer, and eventually it kept us alive. We made it through the year when none of our funding applications were successful. And we had enough capacity that we could take some time, poke our heads up, and look around and realize that a lot of other groups across our country and internationally were failing or struggling with similar challenges that we'd been dealing with. But we're not here to talk more about Hidden Harvest. What we're going to talk about today is a little bit more about the state of gleaning, not reviewing what Sean has already done a deep dive into, but from a high level, from a systems perspective, what we have learned about failures and survivors. We're going to talk a little bit about what we've gleaned from what resilient programs do well from a systems perspective, and how technology can support these systems. We're going to do a little bit of a dive into some solutions that we've come up with our platform, but also what you can do if you're struggling with some free tools, how you can organize your data effectively. So, first of all, a reality check. This is a graph of Canadian fruit tree projects by end date. It's all the groups that I've found so far. There's about 66. Each of these green lines represents their lifeline. Some of them keep going, but 55% of them don't, unfortunately. Many of the gleaning groups we know about have disappeared over the last 12 years. And in the United States, I understand there are going to be similar patterns happening. We know from AGO's 2020 gleaning census that there's high organizational turnover, and particularly drop-offs around the 10-year mark. So every single one of these lines, every single one of these groups that have disappeared, I've tried to find them and figure out what happened. Because these were good groups. Like these were not like partial groups. These groups really doing the work, rescuing hundreds of thousands of pounds of food. Some of them had huge budgets. One was nearly $2 million budget a year. They had great logos. They had T-shirts. They had some awesome stuff going for them. And what I've learned from talking with folks that used to be in these groups and from reading failed blog posts is that most of the time these programs, they started with a burst of energy, right? There's an enthusiastic founder or a grant, and then they set up as many systems as they could with the free tools they know. with it, or they knew, within the limits of those free tools that they had access to. They do as much as they can with phone calls, spreadsheets, post-its, email, sometimes Google Suite, um, Eventbrite maybe. But as these groups start to grow and respond to that demand, um, there is a rut. And we've also learned this. The AGO census did a great job pointing this out. There's this stage of growth where efficiency actually decreases. More time proportionally is spent managing those volunteers, coordinating partners, tracking the data, and maintaining relationships. Um, and it's a vulnerable space, um, and some folks don't make it out. Um, in this space, these groups are often doing the same things over and over, but without the assurance of sustainability. So, like, they haven't reached the scale where they have confidence that the project is going to be around next year or in the next 5 years. Um, but sometimes they are so busy just rescuing the next tree, rescuing from food from the next field, that they don't necessarily realize that they are in this rut. Sometimes even there's, this natural human instinct, like, the way we do it is comfortable, it's familiar, and change can be hard. So we keep going back and forth and digging ourselves deeper into that same rut. Um, and you can survive for a long time in this space. You can get lucky if your funder continues to fund you every year, or you might fail. And the reasons for failure um, had a lot in common: volunteer burnout, admin overload, leadership transitions with no handoff, or the end of a grant term with no plan. Um, what these have in common is they are a failure of systems. The work became too heavy to carry without new tools and systems to spread the load. Often knowledge was living inside someone's head, or processes were not well documented. And generally, their systems really depended on just a few people or a few funders holding everything together, carrying way too much responsibility. So, uh, back for a moment to this graph. If we sort it a bit of a different way, this time the graph is sorted by start dates. It starts to show us that there's some other patterns happening too. There's a lot of groups starting, which is really exciting. A lot of people are trying to do this work. And the failures seem to be more frequent when groups are smaller, right? Or sorry, when groups are younger. So under 10 years, under 5 years, 3, 4 years, there's a lot of failures in that time frame. And this makes sense because this work is relationship based, right? It takes time to build trust, to make connections. In our experience in talking with groups, we suspect that there's a growth threshold limit when you're using free tools, that is around 80 events per year. That's mostly for more like urban groups. But at around 80 events a year, that coordination becomes more complex, the systems become strained, and coordinators find that the biggest constraint is coordination time. And it starts to feel like a rut, like you are spinning your wheels. Um, the the idea of growth or change starts to feel really heavy. It's not exciting because every new event could add work without adding more capacity. Leaders are just doing their best to try to maintain the current level of activity. And coordinators are doing a ton of work, or spending a ton of time on repetitive administrative tasks. And there was one coordinator we spoke to recently who estimated that they spend 5 to 7 hours per week through their harvest season managing routine communications, which added up to more than 175 hours per year, more than four full work weeks. And this is someone working part-time. Shout out if you're in the room. He might be. That's a lot of time. Any work is going to have, any job has a slog that you have to make it through sometimes. But if that project hasn't scaled to a level of knowing where they're going to be next year and the wheels start spinning, then you're in trouble. And the first step to getting out is admitting you have a problem. How do resilient groups get out of this rut? Here's what we heard from folks. They build capacity before they grow. Now, capacity, it's not just time, right? It's time plus the ability to do stuff, right? Whether that's cognitive load, energy, tools. So you do need more time. You need to create time by simplifying processes where you can, but you also need to make it a priority to find more efficient ways to do things. You need to notice repetitive tasks, parts of your work that feel like a slog, because if you're pushing through day after day or night after night, hopefully not night, if it's hard and annoying for you, it's going to be really hard to replace you if you disappear. No one else is going to want to do it. So think about those things and make it a priority to figure out how to fix it. You might have to say no to new work, like do fewer gleans if you have to, because although you might want to do more, you're not going to be serving anyone if you disappear. So if you're at the AGO conference right now, look around and ask people what they do with those sticky moments that you have. Change role descriptions if you have to, or lower expectations. Get help. You can also use technology to your advantage. And we're going to share some low-hanging fruit low-hanging fruit with you. If you are stuck using free tools, Tony's done some serious excavation work into many organizations' data, and he's got a few tips to set you up for success here that can save you some time.
Yeah, so what you need is more capacity. Technology can help you save time, but it's really most useful if your data is structured and consistent. So there's some simple things you can do. Use forms for everything that people have to register or sign up for. There are free things like Google Forms that work really well. But just be careful that even if somebody calls you or wants to sign up via message, use your own form to fill that data so that everything ends up in one consolidated place. So try to enter information only once. Don't keep those sticky notes or multiple lists around. Have everything in one spot. When you ask questions in a form, keep them easy to answer and easy to organize later. And that means using things like drop-downs and checkboxes instead of free-form text fields. Free-form text is kind of the enemy of organization. If you need to go and sort a sheet later, you can't do it if a bunch of different pieces of information are in one big blob. So really focus on using drop-downs and checkboxes as much as you can. Once you've got everything consolidated into something like a spreadsheet, there's some simple habits that can save you time as well. So format everything properly. Dates are dates. Don't mix things. Phone numbers entered the same way every time. Have consistent standards for how you enter information. Use one column for every single piece of information. So don't try to combine things like somebody's name and email. Or if you're saving the address, break it down into components, the street name, the city, the zip code or postal code. That really makes things easy to find later. Keep your table clean, so don't have blank rows. Don't introduce scattered sections that have a little bit of a different meaning to what else is in there. Keep things nice and ordered. Use consistent labels for things. So don't mix up things like signed up, registered, confirmed, if they all mean the same thing. Pick a single term, reuse it, and ideally from a set of predefined drop-down options or something linked data-wise so that you're not having to type it in manually every time. The consistency comes from just using the built-in tools. Something simple like freezing your header rows on spreadsheets helps you stay organized because you don't get lost as you're scrolling a long list. And I'd say go back every once in a while. Do a quick check for things like duplicates or missing info. It's way easier to do this sort of over the long run rather than having to come back, on an annual basis and try to remember a whole bunch of things that happened in the last 365 days. Just on a regular basis, make sure your data is kept clean. If you're sending lots of similar emails, save yourself some time by using things like templates or canned responses. Most email clients have that kind of capability baked in today. Or use free tools like Eventbrite to handle confirmations and reminders so that you're not doing that on a manual basis as well. And if you're using more than one tool, keep things consistent so it's easier to match data up later. So if you're using a certain format or a phone number or an address in one tool, make sure to enter it identically into another tool. And if you find yourself having to juggle a whole bunch of tools and trying to keep information coordinated across them, that's probably the time where it's a good time to start thinking about a single shared platform that can manage everything for you. I'd say the big takeaway is for the goal to be to enter information only once, keep it clean, and reuse it as much as you can.
Thanks, Tony. Now I know that was a big list, but if you're not doing all of those things, even just starting, if you take one of those things away and start to integrate it, it'll be a small step in the right direction. And even if, in the moment it feels like it's going to take longer, it is setting you up for success in the future if you're going to build more capacity into your organization or prepare for any kind of transition. So, um,
And I'm going to add
speaking,
in one more
yep,
point before we leave that, Katrina.
yep,
Just in developing the list for this talk, I had the idea that really I should just publish a spreadsheet for people to use. So follow us on social media or have a look at our website. At some
mm,
point this summer, I'm going to sort of publish a free spreadsheet template that will sort of encapsulate all these ideas and be built around sort of running a simple cleaning operation.
awesome. Um, So headed back to our graph for a moment, I want to talk briefly as well about these the grandparent groups, these long groups that have been around for like 25 years, and how have they stuck it out? Uh, how do they make it through the rut, and how are they staying out of it? I mean, they're probably going in and out of ruts all the time, but they built some tools to be more resilient. In talking with some of these groups, uh, here's what they do. First of all, they are not doing it alone. They've got help on a few different levels. The biggest way they've got help is through partnerships and collaborations. So, for example, Hidden Harvest Ottawa is now a project of Enviro Center, a bigger umbrella organization. Um, these collaborations and partnerships often come with administrative support or in-kind infrastructure or financial stability in some way. Um, all these groups as well, one thing you can't see is almost all of them are getting help in some way from technology because they've grown out of the tools that they started with. Many of them have slowly built custom platforms or apps because they looked around and realized nothing quite fit the nuance of this work. Um, and then on a smaller scale, the other thing they're doing well is they are bringing people in. They are making it easy to participate. They're offering leadership opportunities. They're building their leadership bench. So they've got people in the wings waiting to step into leadership roles. They do not depend on one person. And they recognize that turnover is normal, it's inevitable, it's natural, and they plan for it. And when transition does happen, it feels manageable because their system holds the knowledge, not an individual. Overall, these groups have developed systems that really support shared responsibility, that help them weather the storms and get through the ruts. So, how can common fruit help? Um, we've designed common fruit to support resilient systems. First of all, by saving time through automating and holding all data in one location, automating the emails that are transactional. We reduce the friction, the annoying parts of the work, making it easy for people to get involved. And we help preserve knowledge so that the leadership can be shared and passed on when the time is right. Um, we're gonna jump into a demonstration space of the platform, the same one that we were talking about earlier that is available on our website. Tony, you're gonna steal presenting for me, I believe, if you can.
I think I
Um,
have.
you think you have? Okay, let's see. Um,
Yep, we are.
okay, great. Um, so I can't see your screen yet. Well, maybe I can't, but you can, so that's great. Um, again, You can explore this at a later time if you're curious. But one thing we wanted to point out is the way that transactional emails are automated. Actually, Tony, since maybe you want to speak to it and show them the ripeness check-in, since I can't quite see what you're doing yet, I'll try to find it.
Yeah, Katrina, if you look at the top of your Zoom screen, there's a couple tabs maybe, and one of them should be saying My Screen. Um, but here I'm going to show an example of a ripeness checking email. So this is pretty simple. 3 weeks before fruit is typically ripe, we're going to send out an email to the owner, and it's just asks how their crop's looking and whether it's going to be ready soon. And if it is, we give them a link to fill out a simple form. And so that request to harvest form will then inform the organization that that particular tree is ready to harvest soon. And through that process and collecting that information, you can ask as many questions as you like. So whatever indicates whether that thing truly is ripe. So you can ask about what the color of the seeds are, whether they've tasted it. They can upload photos so you can have a look of, if they cut an apple in half and show you the seeds, or show you a photo of their tree to show how laden it is. But this is fully automated, so you don't have to worry about checking in. It doesn't preclude you from communicating with everybody on your list, but this is one thing that you don't have to remember to do.
Yeah, it's all of the emails are sort of a set it and forget it, like do it right once, and then don't worry about it again. And the other ones that are automated, the invitations and the thank yous at the end, these are emails that often are full of numbers, which I find the easiest for myself. These are the easiest spots to make typos, like places with times and dates. If you were sending invitations manually, human errors are inevitable, right? And sometimes it takes a long time to undo an error like that. So this can really save time and also, yeah, reduce the friction, because confusion, nothing brings down my willingness to volunteer with a group, like feeling like it's a confusing thing that isn't valuing my time. So this can really help volunteers feel valued and included. Um, let's see. So the other thing we were going to check out is, yeah, the thank you email. Uh, and the other benefit of the sort of set it and forget it concept is that all of your contacts are going to hear from you. I know there were years we were like, oh, we didn't even reach out to any of these tree owners that we weren't able to get out to. But if you're sending ripeness check-ins to everyone, then all of your contacts are going to hear from you. You don't have to worry about going through the list and seeing who have I contacted, who haven't I. It's all going to get done. This approach also really supports happier volunteers and happier staff who want to stick around. For example, so if you want to go into completing the reports, when you go into an event after you've completed it, you can quickly view attendance list, check off who was there, who wasn't. You can track participation. You can do this from your phone or at home when you're all done, and you can record what happened. What actually happened, upload your photo, add comments, and then the comments that you're adding here are just going to be shared with future leaders, not with the homeowner themselves. You can save drafts, and then when you go to submit it, that's when you actually publish the report, that's what's going to generate an automatic thank you. And the thank you is going to be personalized and include mention of things like, hey, we rescued 25 pounds of pears that went to this food agency. So people are really going to feel like they have that full circle moment of knowing what happened. Those notes are also going to be able to be seen by future staff. So if we check out tree details, yeah, we can scroll down. Now this says tree details, but again, this could say markets or location or farm. We can go through past notes from other leaders or other staff. We can also see comments made by the tree owner or the location owner. And we can see what was harvested in the past and when. There's links that we can click into and check the harvest summary from that date and check out in particular, how many pounds was it? Gosh, okay, we had 6 people out. Was that really enough? Just all that historical data that builds the relationship is carried forward. So it's not on one person's shoulders. It's really with the organization. Um, yep. So how are we doing, folks? We are at around half an hour. So I know we've got a little bit of time left, but overall, I think hopefully you can see that when you're able to share this information within your organization, but also within your staff team, within your leadership team, the organization has the possibility to become stable enough to grow and serve its community better. Um, oh, Tony, you stopped sharing. The last thing I want to show, did you go to the stats page? I think that's an exciting thing, or is it too late?
Sure, I can go
Um,
back.
The other thing that administrators of the platform all get to see and share is once they submit those reports, they can go to the stats page and see their impact rolling up in real time. So they can, this year so far, 2026, there's been 5 harvests, and I know maybe that I've done 2 of those, but it's great to see how we and our collective impact is really adding up. Um, We're going to pause here for a moment for questions and see if there's anything in particular that folks in the room or folks online would like to hear about from us. I kind of see some movement in the room, but it looks like, oh, I see a mic being passed, but we can't hear you.
Now?
Yep, gotcha.
Great. I'm just wondering, with the platform that you have, you're reporting out to the farms or the growers, whoever produce the product right after the glean. Are you what kind of documentation might you be doing for tax purposes for them? Is that something that happens on the spot or something that can happen later at the end of the year for tax reporting purposes?
We're working on sort of year-end tax reporting as a new feature that'll be shipped this summer. But we're collecting all of the relevant information, so just a matter of compiling up into a report. So a farm owner or a tree owner would be able to go into their own personal dashboard. So everybody who's involved in the platform also has their own account, so they can view it on the spot. And it also can be compiled into a report that you deliver from your organization if you'd like to them individually at the end of the year.
Yeah, tax forms are something as where I see the mics being passed, but I'll just mention that um, the the platform, so some folks may have seen the platform a year ago, and you may see some of the changes that have already happened. We are committed to continuing to evolve the platform to support the best practices of resilient groups around the world. So every year, it's not going to look it's not going to look or feel different, but there's going to be more features that enable groups to shift and change and adjust according to best practices, but also what technology is coming up in the world. So it's going to continue to change. And so, yeah, tax forms are one of the things that are going to be available in the future, and that's pretty exciting.
Our last questions come from Zoom. The first one is, are you both comfortable sharing your contact information with us? You don't have to be. But if you are, drop it in the chat and I'll save it for everybody in the room. The second one is, what are you looking forward to with Common Fruit? And then our last one is, does it integrate with MailChimp or Eventbrite?
Do you want to do the last one first, Tony?
Yeah, we do integrate with MailChimp, so we can sync bidirectionally with your MailChimp account. So any volunteers or tree owners who sign up, and that includes doing things like tagging or adding them to groups, and that can all be automated. We don't do any integration with Eventbrite. We kind of take the functionality of Eventbrite away, so you wouldn't necessarily need Eventbrite if you're using our platform. We handle all the signups and registration for events and attendance and everything that Eventbrite typically can provide. If there's something that they're providing, I'd be curious to hear outside of the scope of what we already do, how we might integrate with them, because we're open to adding new integrations.
And in terms of what we're excited for, oh, and we're totally happy to share our contact info. I've dropped my email in the chat there. We're always available through commonfruit.org as well. Through our site, you can book a time with us anytime, and we really are really open to it. We're passionate about this field. We love talking with gleaners, and even if you're just curious about what this is all about and how it might fit or not, or what lessons learned we both might mutually take from a conversation, we are happy to chat anytime. In terms of what we're excited about, I think my big picture excitement is coming back to the graph that I showed a few times about the duration of gleaning projects and seeing it change. I want those green lines to be longer. I want gleaning groups to be thriving across our country, the United States, and around the world. I think there's enough smart people working on this that sharing best practices and sharing our tools it's gonna help everybody. So that's the idea with Common Fruit. That's as we evolve, everyone on the there's no tiers of what people get. People don't, a big group isn't getting something fancier than a smaller group. As we roll out new updates, everyone on the platform is going to benefit from it. So that's what I'm excited about. I want to shift the graph.
And I'm excited to keep building things. I really like, solving problems. And I've been working on sort of the core of this platform since about 2017. We first started using it in practice in 2018. And the majority of that time, I was doing it on a volunteer basis. I've been working on Common Fruit sort of as a new entity for the last 2 years. But I've got, 8 years of pent up things that I've wanted to do and add. So I've been slowly tackling those things over time. And then as we work with new organizations, everybody else has great ideas. And I want to build other things for them too. So I love talking to the groups and hearing the things that they're excited about, what would be really helpful for them in their operations, and being able to bring those to life. And now that I've dedicated myself full time to building this, I'm just getting so much more done at a much quicker pace. And it's exciting to see the product really grow.
That is an excellent way to end our session. Thank you both so much for presenting today.